that's funny.
Okay, are we on? Are mics on?
Sorry.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
We're on.
Yep, recording.
Okay, are we on?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I would like to call the city council work session for July 9th, 2024 to order, please. We have no public hearings this evening. Some folks on Facebook have asked that I introduce the people who are in the audience or here around the dais. So we have our police chief, Mr. Chris Jones. We have our city clerk, Erin Gavico. We have legal counsel, Jack Samuels. And we have our CAO, Ms. Emily Woodmaster, with us today. The first item on the agenda is old business, updated personnel policies and procedures manual. This has been before us, feels like forever since we saw each other.
Yeah.
It has been, it's been about a month, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was also a long holiday weekend.
Well, and we had training in Savannah
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So we were on for that. So you have had an opportunity to, and let me address the fact that Mr. Keith is not here. And Mr. Keith is away for the evening, he is not calling in. So this represents council and we have quorum with this body. The updated policy personnel procedures manual came to you via email. It came out of committee, comprised of staff and city council members. Has everybody had a chance to look at it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Any comments, questions, concerns? We don't vote on this tonight, right? This is just for conversation. And we agree that we're gonna bring this to our next meeting, Emily, for a vote or approval? Okay. If you happen to look at it in the next couple of days, and again, we meet on Monday night next week, if you have anything, please forward the comments to Ms. Woodmaster. Okay, thank you. Under new business, we have an updated purchasing policy. Ms. Woodmaster, do you want to lead us through that? Sure.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I do not have the purchasing policy in your packets tonight. It will be in your packet on Monday night. It's a pretty thick document. It's about 30 pages. Our recommendation is to replace anywhere in the ordinance or in the policy that says city clerk with the CAO. When we established that policy in 2021, we had not determined what the title of this position would be, and I was operating as the city clerk. And so we're just cleaning that up. And it's consistent across the board so that there's no room for interpretation. Erin does not want to do anything with finance. With my math grades, y'all don't want me to either.
That's great.
So we're just cleaning that up. That is the only proposed change. We have talked with legal about the creating an ordinance for surplus property valued under 500 from the general fund. We do need that authorization in order to dispose of any of our property. So we just collect it because it's not worth coming before council and asking to get a valuation on a 25-year-old scanner that might be worth 13 cents.
Yeah.
But we can't actually dispose of it because it is the city's property. So with that ordinance, which it's not being proposed yet, you guys will be getting that soon. It will be added into that purchasing policy that language exists, that we can dispose of property less than $500 in value.
Okay. And Ms. Gavico, you sent that to us via email today.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have that in our emails to review. Okay. That's it on that?
Mhm.
Are we okay bringing this to Monday night?
Sure.
Okay. We'll do that. The next item on the agenda is Highland Point speed bumps.
Yes.
Thank you for staying on top of this. I know Mr. Shirley and the folks at Highland Point have advocated for this hard.
I'm really glad to see this.
Yeah, so we worked with our Public Works Director, Scott Barnhart. Originally, our plan was to take the speed bumps from City Hall and place them out in Highland Point, almost as a test to see if the method or the mechanism worked to slow down traffic in Highland Point. And it turns out we can't. Those are there to stay until they are no longer of use. So we do have to invest in new speed bumps. Our desire was to hold off on doing that until the road was paved. We do not know or have an ETA for that completion. And so Scott went out and quoted how much it would cost for those speed bumps. Also, I will add that this is not something that the city just chose to do. This came at the request of the residents of Highland Point. One of their representatives, Mr. Shirley, came to council a couple of times requesting it. The first time he came, he was just concerned, didn't know what to do, and we asked him to go back, talk to his neighbors, and he came back with a petition from the majority of the owners in Highland Point. So we are doing it. The cost for those speed bumps, the estimate that we have, it's on page 1 of your packet tonight, is $1,764. I am requesting that we have a $2,000 not to exceed. We do not know how much the shipping will be on these materials, so I just want to have that buffer in there in the event that we do need to pay for shipping. And my proposal is on page 2 and 3 for it to come from public safety funds. This will be the first time that we will use public safety funds for something other than the fire, police department, and courtroom. But it is 100% a public safety initiative.
Safety, our children's safety.
School
Yes.
camera funds to slow the speeders down to keep kids safe.
Right.
I love it.
correct.
Yeah.
So we do want to slow down the traffic. We do know that it's a liability in there. It's hard to get through. We do have code compliance, preparing a newsletter, flyer of sorts, and he's actually going to go door to door, introduce himself to all of the residents of Highland Point, and explain to them the importance of not parking on the road. Our fire trucks and our public utility vehicles cannot get through that street. I know sometimes it's narrow for our police vehicles as well. So we are making every effort to get those vehicles off of the roadway. And so he's gonna go around and do that. So we are trying to accommodate the needs of Highland Point as much as we can. And that road is, for those of you who are listening, it is of top priority. It is just finding the funding for it.
Have we heard anything back from the resident that came in about the speed bumps on Park Road, Park Street?
Park Avenue.
The one beyond school?
No, I've not heard anything since then.
Sometimes, it can be a daunting task to go and get signatures or to make the effort to go and knock on the door
When?
of your neighbors, and you may not.
When was this?
Well, sometimes
Park
it's
Avenue?
long task just to remember whether it actually happened or not. I do remember vaguely.
Wasn't it a stop sign?
Okay, so we have a stop sign request at Peach Orchard,
Yes.
and we are putting up a stop sign.
Okay.
Scott's aware of that. He's working on getting
I'm
that
sorry.
ordered. I actually think it might have been ordered already.
I think he has already ordered it.
That's complete.
It might be up. I know that I signed off on it, so that's happening.
Oh, they wanted.
Remember
So-
the lady that came, I think she moved the plate?
We have Miss Basan.
Yeah.
So we had a request a couple of years ago for speed bumps on Wilbank Street, where Mr. Ayers lives, and the overwhelming majority said, nah, we don't want those.
Maybe that was it. Yeah.
And on that road, I think there's 15 or 20 houses, and we sent out letters. And we were gonna do that for Highland Point, but Mr. Shirley came back with a petition.
He was on it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and unbeknownst to Mr. Shirley, or our public works director, that one of those speed bumps will go near Mr. Shirley's house. So it's measured right where it needs to be.
There was a woman from Highland Point, Miss Batson, who had come to talk about, she was very kind to us, she was a young woman. And she said kind things, and then she also asked for speed bumps or something, that might be one word.
Yeah, that was last year. Yeah.
I think that's
It
Rose
was
Basan.
Basan?
I think.
Oh,
That's
Basan.
it.
Yes,
Rose
yes.
Basan.
She was married to the South African.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They moved?
Yeah.
They did. Job opportunity, I think, led them on.
It's in the car, there is one.
So is this something that we feel comfortable moving to Monday night?
Oh, yeah. It's way cheaper than I thought. It's
Much
less
Yeah.
expensive than I thought. it would
And,
be.
and so it's
That's definitely.
there'll be 4 speed bumps.
It's two sets.
It's
So
two sets.
it's northbound, southbound, one set, northbound, southbound, second set. So there's 4 bumps, but they're in the same spot, just north and south.
It's like, how far apart are we?
It's on the road. It's just a northbound lane and the southbound lane
Yeah.
across.
Go across the road.
Oh, there's 4. that
So
go
there's
boom,
2.
boom, boom.
There's
Yes.
2 right there,
Two.
and then on the other side of the circle, there will be another set of 2 for a total of 4.
The whole neighborhood can get it?
Well,
Yeah, well they are.
What do you want?
Depending on the size.
Yeah, well, I'm
So there's 2
I'm not bad
sets.
about skaters, so.
If you have driven
Maybe
through
that-
Highland
that's why,
Point,
yeah.
if you've driven through Highland Point, when you
Yeah.
turn in and make that first right, you are going downhill, so that first speed bump will stop you, and then you have to round a downhill curve. And then it turns into an uphill curve. And then you go uphill, and then there's the straightaway. There will be another one in that straightaway before you get to the stop sign.
Yeah.
There's a stop sign.
I would put a speed bump in front of everybody's driving. But I
Well,
don't listen
basically,
to
they
me, yeah.
have that because
They
the
have it
road
because of
is
the potholes.
finished.
Yeah,
That
potholes
was-
and manhole covers, they've got bumps.
Yeah, they got bumps. It's
They
fine.
might not be speed tickets.
You'll
got
lose the
bumps.
radiator if you go through there too fast.
Do we have an anticipated time for this project?
Speed bumps?
Yeah.
They'll most likely be done by the end of the month, beginning of next.
That's awesome.
Great.
Oh, good for them. Good. That neighborhood has a lot of children.
Yes.
So,
A lot.
A lot of, foot traffic on those roads.
Yeah.
A lot of
people walk
walkers.
off.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're
Good.
bringing this to Monday evening.
Yes.
Sure.
Next item on our agenda is the phone system upgrade. Ms. Woodhouse.
This has been a long time coming. So the current system that we have is Cirrus Networks. We have been with them for the better part of 15 years. We had them at the old City Hall as well as the new. I submitted or requested a quote last fall from Cirrus to upgrade our technology. One, our phones are outdated. I don't know if you spent any time in a city office, but half the time you can't hear from them. And there are some challenges with the system or the voice over IP that we have. There's a couple of us that have experienced random voicemails appearing that are really old, that are like
Yeah.
hung out in limbo somewhere. In addition to the actual hardware, the coil, the telephone coil is worn out and it makes the phone scratchy. It hangs up after 3 calls. There's so many things that we've got to like catch. Sometimes voicemails will go to Mr. Barnhart's phone, and he has an extension. So there's a lot of issues, and we've really tried to remedy all of them. So in the fall, I reached out to Cirrus, asked them if they can do a comprehensive review of our account and tell us what things needed to be improved, if there was anything that we could change. In a dream world, we would love to not have a desk phone at all. Unfortunately, they're required. So we do need to have them. We do need to have the hard lines, especially for 911 calls,
Yeah.
so that we can be located. And that process, while I had Cirrus working on that quote, I also reached out to our managed IT contractors and asked them if they knew of any phone systems that were better quality, had more options, and things of that nature. So on page 4, 5, 6, 7 of your packet is a new quote, but then on page, I think that's 8, it's kind of right over, 8 and 9 is the Cirrus quote. We have asked 3, I think it's a total of 3 other agencies to quote us on phone services. We gave them our spec. These are how many phones we have. This is how many lines we need. These are the fax numbers that we need. And no one replied except for Sangoma. So I have a quote from Sangoma, a quote from Cirrus. I have tried for 7 months, 8 months now to get additional quotes to find something else. So these are the 2 that I'm bringing before you. This has been in the budget. It was in the budget last year, and we pulled it out to accommodate some other expenses. It is in the budget for this year. And I do want to explain why my recommendation is Sangoma instead of Cirrus. So Cirrus, I know they're backwards, but on page 9 or 8, 9 of the proposal, you will see that Cirrus's proposal is to give us 35 new phones. Okay, so we buy these phones. This is our technology. We replace whatever's broken on them. If something doesn't work, we replace the phone. It's our device. We own it. And they're recommending that we replace all of them because they are, at this point, 8 years old. Phones are good between 3 and 6 years. If you get a really good one, might be a little bit longer. But as we all know, technology is ever evolving, and the programming, I don't really know what it is, but the voice over IP that allows us to do this all over internet has taken the world by storm. And so the hard line is not as common versus the VoIP. And so they're proposing new hardware, and then the expansion module, which is a piece of the system that goes into our server. There's the handset station, the Wi-Fi ports, and then the labor cost. This is keeping us with the current system that we have, which is upgrading the technology, and the cost for that is $8,300. That does not include the monthly maintenance fee or the monthly charges that we have on the account, which are $538 a month. So we have this.
For Cirrus?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay.
And we have 35 phones throughout the system, throughout the city. Excuse me. So with Sangoma, again, this is keeping us where we are. We have all of the fax lines that we need. We really could use an additional fax line. We just choose not to, and we make it work with Court and GCI.
Yeah.
So that one is a bit of a challenge. But other than that, everything is exactly how it has been for the last 7 years or 8 years. With Sangoma, there's a number of different features that they offer in addition to their regular phone service or voice over IP service. This quote in particular is a subscription base, and we lease the phones.
Mm-hmm.
So every 3 years, we're getting a new phone system. There is no additional infrastructure cost when that 3-year term is up, other than the increase in whatever the market value is for our contract. This is a 3-year term, and again, everything is the same as far as the number of phones that we have. We may or may not need to add an additional phone for the Public Works building, but we're waiting until everything is upfitted to make that determination. With Sangoma, there are a few really neat features that they have that Cirrus can't match. I did ask. One of my probably most favorite features is the transcription of voicemails. So if someone leaves a voicemail, the system will transcribe it, and you can either get that texted to you, sent to your email, or you can listen to it like a regular voicemail. And you can read what people are requesting of you in your voicemail, which is really helpful when people are on the road or in a lot of meetings and can't take the call but want to see what is being requested of them, i.e. me. But also, it gives you the ability to transfer your phone to your computer. So if you're going to be out of the office, or if you're, going to spend the next 6 hours up at City Hall and you want your desktop phone can be answered through your computer.
Yeah.
So it offers that capability as well. And there's one other. There's a few other things that I'm sure Joey could tell you all the bells and whistles about that aren't really that important. What I care more about is the longevity of the service, if it's quality, and what our upfront cost is going to be. So with Sangoma, you'll see that the one-time charge to move over to Sangoma is $535, and the monthly charge is $1,000, which is $500 more than what we're currently paying. However, we have all of these additional features that will allow all of us who are answering a desktop phone a lot more ease in the process. Voicemails are quite an undertaking, especially when you're trying to listen to what somebody is telling you, and you're sitting there trying to write it down. I'm sure most of you have seen my voicemail notes that I keep. I keep that log, and it can be quite cumbersome. I think there was one that Erin had not long ago that we had to listen. She had to listen to it like 5 or 6 times to understand what was even being said. Also, it didn't help that the phones are old and you can barely
Right.
hear out of them. So it is an additional monthly service fee, but you are getting a better product for it, and we're not coming up with this $8,000 upfront cost every 3 to 5 years. So it's consistent, and it is in line with many of the practices that we're moving towards, subscription based or leasing our products, like leasing our.
Patrol vehicles, yeah.
That was not what I was going for, but that is another one. Printers. We lease our printers so
Yes.
that when they get old, they just come in and give us a new one, and we just keep paying that same fee. It makes accounting a lot easier, but it also makes sure that we're being the most efficient with our time. And if I could save 35 minutes in transcribing voicemails because the computer's going to do it for me, I'm game. So it is an additional fee. This is the quote that I used for the budget. It is built into the budget. This is not a surprise. And this is also in line with converting, as we talked about during the budget process, moving all of the departments into the IT department's budget for phone service. So it's all under one umbrella, as well as, and we'll keep all of our same phone numbers. I think I forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
So
no,
everything will
numbers.
stay, everything will stay the same. And it is just a matter of converting over this one time. That was a mouthful.
With Griffith, you have $8,345, but you mentioned about a $500 a month fee.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So-
$537.50, I think.
In a life long ago, I actually got trained up pretty well in voice over IP. A lot of folks don't realize is the actual technology sitting on your desk, $5. And it's irrelevant what's on the desk. It's all the software behind it. So the random voicemails popping up,
Yeah.
that's a database error. And just so you know, I'm kind of, so Senegal actually means, witch doctor in Zulu.
Really?
Interesting.
So I was like, I don't know about this.
Oh, that's
But,
interesting.
yeah, no, so I have
That's cool.
heard of it before, and the software behind it is what drives it. I mean, it's much like the software we use for the police department, of course. The better the software, the more efficient you're going to be.
Are we okay with a 3-year contract?
Have
We-
you looked at the contract? They got a 1-page contract.
Yeah.
It's
Well, that's-
interesting.
We looked at it 6 months ago. We'll definitely review it again before it's approved. But I don't think that there was any issues with it on the outset, except for there was one clause earlier.
And the 3 years mark.
Yeah,
So at the end of 3 years, you can pull out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that would need to be 1 year.
Mhm. And they didn't, when I mentioned that to Joey, they did not have an issue with doing that.
That's
Oh,
it,
okay.
yeah.
This is just a
Okay.
standard agreement.
And probably because they're bringing all the equipment. Let's see. So I have a question. Is there a reason why, so sorry, Gen X, also I used to work for the phone company. Is there a reason why we're using VoIP and not copper lines?
Absolutely. You know how many copper lines you'd have to run to run 35 phones?
And also, people still have copper lines.
Oh, snaps.
Yeah.
No, they're in the ground.
It's fiber optic now.
People dig it up. Yeah, a lot of our internet is fiber
It
as
is,
well.
yeah.
The only place that isn't fiber is City Hall, but that is changing.
Yeah.
So our goal is to have that done in the
I
next
mean,
2 years.
I don't think you can still get phone systems that aren't VoIP.
I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, I think you're right.
I mean,
Because with Windstream, when they did their, when they actually had the city come out to their central office, and their central office had been, all of that copper, all that equipment had been taken out, and it was just, it's just one machine that you used to work on, yeah. Okay, answer question.
Carrie, anything? So you don't expect to get the other 3 companies?
I've waited 6
proposals?
months.
You waited
Yeah.
6 months, okay. So Monday night, you would like us to entertain a motion?
I would like to know if the council is prepared for us to move forward with Sangoma, because I would like to work out the details of the agreement before I bring it to council. But I need to
Okay,
know
so-
that
so
you guys
this is
are,
not for Monday night,
No.
but just kind of consensus?
that's correct.
Do we want you to move forward with the contract?
Because I'm either going to engage with Sangoma, or I need to re-engage Cirrus to pay that upfront cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that, they're not upgrading this, we're not moving to different software
Mhm.
in the back end, and the problems that we're having.
And they're not proposing to move, their current software, because that was one of the questions I had was, well, can you do this? Like, can you give us this, because we'd love to stay with you, and he was like, not for the next 5 years, but it is in their long-term plan, it's just not now. We need the service now.
Okay, so how do we feel about her engaging?
I'm good with, you guys.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Okay, next item on the agenda is water charge rate increase resolution.
Alright. On page 10 of your packet, you will see the resolution for water and sewer rates. Those water and sewer rates we talked about during the budget. We just had not brought forward that for approval from the city council. Page 12 of your packet shows you what the tiered rates will be for this fiscal year. It is a 3% increase from the current rates. This is a combination of our population increase and our required increase to keep in line with the projections for our bond, where we said we were at. Aaron and I both looked at the numbers this afternoon, and we are a little shy of where we're supposed to be for 2025, but it is 2024, so we could still get there, but we are just shy of where we should be at this point.
So when, not long after I had come on to the council, we, I don't know, maybe it was 2 years, we had a 20% increase because we had gone 12 years without increasing because unfortunately, people, I don't want to say that, so the people just don't like the backlash that they get from people that don't understand what it takes to maintain a water system. I think I read where Demers was having some issue, people were complaining about, our water rates are going up, but they're having to purchase more water from the city of Toccoa, which is.
As well as the
Which
city
is,
of Kansas.
right, and they're like, well, they just wanna fill up their bank account. Whose bank account? It's the city's bank account, it's the people's bank account, it's it's the people's infrastructure, that's what that money goes in there, not to just, we don't just be having parties. We're having to make decisions on repairing lines and updating systems and upgrading them. And so we went 12 years because people were too chicken to go up on the water rate, and so that was left in our laps. So we had to deal with that in the 20% increase. So when we did that, we've done all the studies, and so we talked about going up at an inflationary rate, more or less. So the 3% or 4% increase is to continue going up with inflation, so that we're not left with a derelict system, and that we're not leaving future council with the show that we were left when I first came
Part
on.
of it is the bond.
And then there's that.
It is a requirement of the bond that we increase 5%. How we get there is either population growth. If we had 5% population growth, then we wouldn't need to go up. But we haven't had that. We talked about that when we were looking at the budget.
Yeah.
That we had a low growth year this
Mhm.
year.
Yeah.
So because we had that low growth year,
Right.
then we go up. We have to match that 5%.
And people don't even when you say, oh, the bond requires it, then they've got something else to say about that, and they don't even understand what's going on, but even just basic maintaining things, so that when you open up the tap on your water, you're getting water that's not gonna kill you.
Yeah.
When you flush your toilet, it's gonna go down the toilet, so anyway.
And the same inflation that the entire world has experienced.
Right.
Local governments experience that too. There's not a secret network of governmental economy that we are buying our goods and services from dealers that can charge us a 1965 rate. It
Right.
doesn't exist. So you know, that same, I don't remember what the numbers were, that Scott gave us at the retreat, but the same line of pipe that we paid, you know, X number of dollars for
Right.
7 years ago is now 3 times its own cost.
Right.
And so that cost has to be borne somewhere, and it is from the business. You increase your cost to maintain your operations. We have not, in total, we have not expanded our system to any great lengths. We've taken on debt to improve our system
Right.
from its current position. We've added meters, so in that regard, we have added to our system, but there hasn't been significant line outside of the Wilbanks Road line that was added to the system. This has all been in operations, an operations conversation.
Right.
How much does it cost to treat the water? How much does it cost to get the water to us, to maintain
Right.
the pumps? And so all of that goes into a water rate. Water rates are not just determined. $5 sounds great today.
We didn't pull it out of our behind.
Right, it is based on our assets, what we have at our water plant, at our wastewater plant, in the ground, at our lift stations, at our pump stations, and then our personnel. What it costs to run this system. So we look at that cost, and this is what our engineers did for our bond when we went to refund our bond in 2021. They did a cost analysis of our system. How much is this system going to make? Can it pay the debt? Can it pay the debt? And based on our projections, you know, this is how much we think our operations are going to grow. This is the inflationary rate that we're going to increase those costs at. And based on that, we're going to project it out 25 years and we'll see what happens. Can we pay for this debt or can we not?
Right.
So we did that, and that is why we have this requirement in our bond that you must maintain this certain level in order for you to pay back what you borrowed. And so it is not, water rates are not easy to determine, but they are easy to defend. You can look at the cost that we have and know that this is why we charge what we charge to have what we have.
Just look at one of the consumables that the water plant has to deal with is the filter media.
Oh, boy,
The
Yes.
price increase on that, I mean, it is
Yeah.
incredibly expensive.
The chemicals went up and down.
Yep. So the only, 3% it's not desirable, but it's not as bad as it could be.
Ain't 20.
It's not 5.
That being said, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the admin fee. I know what it's about, but I've had several people talk to me about the admin fee.
Well, I will say that we are working with our engineers to do a complete overhaul of our water and sewer rate structure. The structure that we have currently has been in place since the 70s. The way that we designed our water rates was the more you use, the more you're going to pay. Conserve your water, don't use it.
Right.
In most cases, that is great, but there are some scenarios where that isn't great, where somebody's prime business requires a lot of water.
Yeah.
So why are they being penalized? Because they have a good business in our community and they need our water to do it. So it was designed back in the 70s to conserve water, and we do want to conserve water. We want to protect the water resources that we do have so that we have them for a long time. But our goal is to move to the AWWA standards that are set forth in administering our water rates. We're one of the few that still have this tier structure the way that we do. There is still going to be a tier structure. It will just look different. And the admin fee is a part of that tier structure. We all know, and it's almost like being a dead horse, that admin fee was born out of a poor decision. And that decision was to go to a per gallon cost, which is a great thing because there is no subsidy in that system. You are paying for exactly what you use. What was not contemplated in that cost was what it costs to get it to you.
Right.
The bill itself, the paper, the stamp, the person who's going out to do the meter reading, the employee who's reviewing all of those accounts to ensure that there's no leaks, and if there is a leak, contacting somebody with a leak. If you walk into City Hall, you will meet somebody who is going to talk to you about your water bill.
Yeah.
If there's an issue, you are gonna go talk to them. So those people have to be knowledgeable in what's happening in the system, why it's happening, how to avoid it. And that was not contemplated when we went back to those rates. So the gallon for gallon is a great idea, but it did not consider all of those ancillary costs that go into the water rate. This was not a new fee by any stretch of the imagination. And if any citizen would like to sit down with us and go through what it cost before we went to the gallon for gallon and what it cost after that year that we went without an admin fee, and then the year that we went back, we just went back to the revenue we were collecting before. We lost money that year that we did not have the admin fee because we went to gallon for gallon and we did not contemplate those costs. This was not an additional fee, but it looks like it is. It looks like it is.
Right.
And so with the overhaul of our water and sewer rate structure over this next year, my goal, or our goal, is to, by FY26, have a new system in place and the admin fee will be gone.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, so it didn't work on.
Yes.
Nice.
Good.
Long story.
I will never hear about that.
We all would.
Are we okay bringing this forward Monday night? Okay.
Yes.
Water, and this is water and sewer now.
That's water and sewer, that's correct. They share the same structure, it's just across the board.
Anybody listening to water and sewer?
Mhm.
Okay.
And then the second item is the trash rate. We've separated them for clarity's sake. Again, this is what we discussed during the budget cycle. They're going up 9%.
And that's
On-
pass-through.
On our
That is
trash,
not us.
that is our contractor who's doing that. It is not 12%, which we thought it was going to be. So it is 9. This is a direct pass-through cost. The rates are going up 9% to all of the residents to accommodate that increase.
And we don't really have any alternatives.
I mean, we will.
We've had the alternative, they weren't great.
It will get bid out this year, but I will say that $17 for trash, very hard to come by.
And that's 4 pickups.
It's 4 pickups.
$17 is 4 pickups. So I've taken things to the dump, and there's a minimum fee at the dump. If I went 4 times, it would far exceed this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There are some smaller companies that do local residential. They'll come throw it in the back of their pickup truck, and some of them are cheaper. But when you add 1,900 accounts to it, it's not.
Yeah.
We did establish a long time ago with the city of Baldwin, well before all of us, that we wanted to have a municipal trash service. We started with our own actual trash service. We had our own trash truck, we had our own trash pickup. Workers, Junior Robinson can tell you all about it. Never again, he said.
Yeah.
Never again. It is a huge cost, capital and personnel, and honestly, it is cheaper to use a contractor. There's some give and take by using a contractor because you are beholden to their rules, their regulations. FCS has been a great partner with the community, with our community. We have worked through some challenges with FC Sanitation, and we have a system that does work. We have all seen and we've heard people come to the city council over the last year expressing their frustration with the decline in service. As we encourage everyone to communicate with us, it is not a burden for you to tell us that something is wrong with your trash service. Because if we know about it and we are engaging them,
Yes.
we can help solve the problem. If we don't know about it, your frustration is your frustration, and that compounds, and I can't help you. But we can help you. The city wants to help you. And it also helps us. The more that you tell us that there's issues and we document that, the more documentation we have to say, hey, these are our problems. And we have a lot of them. And so we will be bidding that out this year, just like every other contract that we have. But for this year, we are with FC Sanitation. I know in the last year they've taken on, or maybe 2 years now, or they're working on their second year, they have taken on Mount Airy and the city of Cornelia. City of Cornelia used to have their own trash service as well. I do think that Demorest is the only municipal trash service left in the county. And I love them. I have them. So they're great. It's just not ideal for the city of Baldwin to engage in that service on our own. correct.
And residents have been upset by that, and then when we work through that, the reason is they know exactly how many houses are on their route, how big their truck is, what they can load into their truck.
Yeah.
And if they pick up all the extra,
Yardage, yeah.
right, then they can't finish their route.
And they have to come back,
And they,
which is diesel.
Yeah.
and
And
that's
then-
a standard with
Most
Right.
trash companies.
And they also are paying the same fee that we would pay when they take it to the landfill. The difference is they are paying per ton.
But I will say that they do make an exception when they see that
That's true.
someone has moved in or moved out.
That is true.
And then on the holidays, they will take extra bags.
They will.
I think that they contemplate that, they think
It's,
about that.
it is not written in
So
our
it's not-
contract,
no,
but
it's
it
not.
is
And they do
their
it.
honored tradition.
Yep.
They have always done that. Additionally, if there is some crazy huge trash day at your house and you want them to pick it up, you just gotta call us.
Yep,
And we'll say, hey, 1394 Park Street is gonna have extra trash today. Can you please pick it up? And we will assess that fee to them.
yep.
But it is still a heck of a lot cheaper than
Yeah.
you taking it yourself. Because we're talking about, I think it's $7 a bag
Yeah,
that you would pay for them to take it away from you versus going to the landfill, and I think it's 10 or 11.
They've also been a
Yeah.
really good community partner with our
There.
seniors who can't bring the trash,
Yep.
yep.
you know, out to the curb.
Mhm.
They'll do that.
We have a
door.
curbside service
Right.
with them.
So.
When they've had an issue with extra trash, they always pick it up every time.
They will make every effort, but it
Yeah.
absolutely is contingent upon the route.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's contingent upon the route that's being driven and what their load is gonna be for that day. If they prematurely fill their truck, they have to take that to the dump or transfer station before they can go back and continue their route, and that will inevitably delay the rest of the week. And which is, it can be quite a haul for a trash truck to have to come all the way back out. They also are less inclined to pick up extra bags when there's only one person on the truck, just because somebody has to be in the truck monitoring the truck and picking up the
In my
people.
neighborhood, they don't even get out. They've got that
The-
claw
yeah.
that grabs the bucket and dumps it.
So,
But this is also a good reminder that we have recycling facilities in Habersham County.
Yep.
And so are you using that? Are you bringing your, you know, detergents and water bottles and glass and things to the recycling
love that.
facilities? So,
I wish that we would cut down on all of the excess,
Right.
but
if you're gonna buy something, buy it glass. So.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
okay.
On page 13, it says outside the city is 220, 250 per decibel.
That's correct.
I thought the reason why you participated in Baldwin city limits was to get the trash. So,
That is one of the services. However, we have a significant number of outside city water customers.
yeah, I understand water, but I didn't know that.
But that's why we offer it, is because they have our water and we can bill them for it. So it is a benefit to someone who lives outside the city that has our water, because that trash truck can go and get them. Instead of them being an independent account, they're a part of our master account.
Do you know how many that is?
How many outside customers we have?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I just looked up that number. Almost 800?
Okay.
Sounds right. Something like
800, and then you have how many outside waters?
that.
Twice that much.
No, I'm sorry, I was referring to water, that we have about 800 outside city water
So
customers.
if you got water, you got trash.
You have the option for trash, you don't have to take it,
Is that, oh, really? I didn't know that.
outside the city.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, inside the city, we do require it, but outside the city, you're not obligated to participate, it is a
Huh,
choice.
okay.
But the outside city rate is still cheaper than their independent account rate. So yes, that's why we offer it. I don't know when that started. It's been here as long as I've been here.
So the basis for the water being outside, is the amount of water pots we have outside the city, right? That's how, we calculate, why it costs more, but how do we calculate the garbage being outside the city?
They're driving farther than our corporate
Okay,
limits.
for them, okay.
I think that's probably the number that FCS took.
Yes, I know. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, there are some that we receive. It's not dollar for dollar. But we also have to manage the account, and that's what we're accounting for. So it's not
They
revenue
also
that we're
buy our trash
collecting.
cans when we send it, yeah.
Yeah, but there is more to an outside water rate than just longer line. That's just one of the many items that we look at.
Well, I don't want to beat this dead trash truck anymore, so.
Are we good bringing, Ms. Woodmaster, are these separate resolutions? They appear to,
Yes,
okay,
there's two separate, one for water and sewer, one for trash.
okay, so for Monday night, they'll be separate?
That's correct.
Okay,
I'm good with that.
good. Okay, yep.
Yes.
All right. Moving on, our last item tonight is updates to the Axon contracts chief.
I'm gonna take a break.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Get it.
So we spoke on the Axon. Y'all remember this going all the way back to 2021?
Well, we've got some new folks, so you might. want to
Yes,
get
I'll
refreshed.
relay. So when I came to the police department with Chief Brannion back in 2021, we had WatchGuard cameras. So I'll touch on that briefly as to know why we spent money to get Axon. So with WatchGuard, they had some, they're very antiquated body cameras. And then they had dash cams as well in the cars. So WatchGuard is a good company. It gives you viewable video footage, but on the back end is where people don't see the problem, the storage of the footage. And Martin's in that line of work.
Yeah.
Storage that is where we run into problems. So then we are responsible for that footage because open records request.
Yeah.
I mean, we can be held liable, we can have lawsuits on this. So we don't have secure servers to store that much data. So in turn, we had hard drives, we had computers in here set up just for a WatchGuard camera. So whenever we got an open records request, at the time, I didn't have an open records or evidence specialist like we do now in Kathy Anderson. So I would spend hours to download. There could be one incident that took 7 DVDs to burn that. It could take 4 to 5 hours. So then we would have to go in and name those videos. It was disastrous. So Chief Brannion implemented and proposed it to council for the first, we had 5 body cameras and 5 tasers on the initial contract. So those packages are called Core Plus packages. So one Core Plus package covers one officer. That gives them a body camera. It gives them a taser, the newest one up to date, along with body camera. We have the docking stations and all the needed storage and license for that officer. So we had 5 of those initially, so that was a contract. So then the very next year, I proposed it to council and we got 2 more. So the very next year, I proposed and we got 2 more. So at the moment, we've got 9 core packages, but it took 3 contracts to do that. And as Emily can attest to, it is the most confusing thing in the world because all 3 contracts have different prices. So when I'm doing my budget, I have to look at each of those. So then when we add officers, it creates havoc because then you're introducing another contract. And as we know here in Baldwin, when we introduce a new contract, we have to have council approval to do that. So what I'm presenting tonight is I'm very happy to say, have 9 officers. We're fully staffed. We do not have an opening.
Yeah.
And Logan Ivester just graduated from the academy. He is in field training, great officer. So by the middle of September, we should have reached our vision plan that we'd always talked about. 1 officer per shift with a supervisor mid-shift for each A, B, and CD. So, which is great. So that means with 9 officers, you need 9 tasers and 9 body cameras. But here's something we have to look out for. I've got this contract price for 10 officer packages because we must have a spare taser and spare body camera. Because if we have a night shift officer and the camera goes down, they can come to the PD, grab that one out, because I hate even mentioning the word, but it's possible if we have an officer involved shooting or use of force, it is critical that that is on video, in today's world especially. So, in saying that, we'll move first. If you'll notice, the first contract that you see is for Fleet 3. So, with this being laid out, we'll touch on that first. So, Fleet 3 is the dash cams that we have in the new patrol vehicles that we leased. So we have 6 of those on the current contract. So we were approved by council to get an additional vehicle in FY24. We're running into there's a lot of paperwork to be accomplished to get that vehicle. So we've came into FY25, but we're still approved to get that vehicle. And in saying that, we need an additional Fleet 3, which would push that to 7 total. So this one contract that you see would prorate the Fleet 3 contract we have now. So we would not have to have 2 Fleet 3 contracts. This one would roll in to the current Fleet 3 contract with 6 cameras. And that's why you see the program length of 49 months instead of 60 months, because these contracts are for 60 months. So in doing that, it actually saved us, we see on here, $4,213.51 in adding this one camera for the Fleet 3, and I have prolonged that camera out until delivery of October of 2024. That way we don't need it immediately. The vehicle's not sitting here, so there's no use in paying for that camera. But if I see technical difficulties in getting that new vehicle, I can prolong this out once again, and it saves our citizens those hard-earned tax dollars. So that is what this first contract is. That one would have to be signed at next council meeting for approval. And we've got until July 20th of 2024 before this contract expires, and then the prices change. So it's critical if we can get this approved for the next council meeting.
Savings, I'm all for it.
Good deal.
I really
And-
like that you brought all this together and kind of cut down the confusion. That's great.
It's extremely hard, because what can end up happening if we stayed at the point where we're at and didn't combine these, we would end up having 5 contracts actually.
Yeah.
2 Fleet 3 contracts, and then we would have 3 Core Plus packages, and then to add the 1 additional extra body cam and taser, that would entail actually, we would end up in 6 contracts. So we're streamlining that and putting it in 2. So, does anybody have any questions on the Fleet 3 before we move? So we'll call the next one the master contract, and that is the Core Plus packages. So you can see the total, and that one actually goes to 64 months, because so Axon's very strange. Their contracts go until October. So me and Emily have tried to contact them and get this changed. They weren't in agreement with that. So we have to abide by their rules. And so if we look at this contract, we can flip that over onto page 2, and you can see the yearly breakdowns of this. So in rewriting this contract, I done our budget proposal. We remember from the council retreat, I had to have a number at that time. So I went based on our contract price at that. So with updating this contract, it is more expensive over the 5 years. But Axon has been very gracious to us, even with adding the additional core officer package and 3 additional licenses, because let me explain real quick on the additional license. I have to have Kathy Anderson, our evidence tech. She has to have a license to go in and view this, and to send all of the stuff to whoever requests the open records. And then we have to have the additionals for our investigator to handle this, and that is the reason we've got 3 additional licenses. So Axon has agreed to meet the price that I had budgeted for FY25 with this package, so it wouldn't impact my budget, which was very gracious of them to do
That
that.
is, yeah.
So, and in the end, it will save us money over the long haul. It may not seem like it at first, but with this redoing the contract, right now we have Taser 7s and Body 3s. So this contract will give us Taser 10s and Body 4s. So we're getting updated equipment, which is better. And the new cameras, I've not got all the details because the cameras aren't ready for release yet, but they will transcribe, as Emily had discussed earlier with the phones, it can transcribe the video and our officers can download that and use that for their reports, which is, as Jack would tell you, that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That way we don't get somebody saying, hey, you falsified a report. Right here it is in the video, right here. And everybody loves video in 2024.
Yeah.
So, and the Taser 10 gives us the capability for more cartridges instead of just 2. And we can more pinpoint our cartridge deployments on the violator with this Taser. So,
Yeah. You know what was also really cool about the Axon that was not available, that wasn't a part of what we had before, was that when either your Taser or your pistol is pulled, not only does it activates your car's camera,
Yes,
the dash
ma'am.
cam, but it also activates any other officer cameras that are in the
Yes.
vicinity. So you're getting a 360
yes.
view. It also backs up a few seconds, like before.
At
it's
least
actually
30
the
seconds.
weapons pull. Yeah, that's right, yeah. So it's
It's
capturing
huge.
before what happens before we get pulled.
So in the Fleet 3 cameras in the vehicle, something really neat about those is if you're driving down the road and the camera is not recording, it's not in record mode, but you're driving, if you run up on a critical incident, we have video recall. You can go back in and actually download that video from that footage. So, but the main thing with Axon is the cloud-based storage.
Yeah,
Hands down, there's nobody can touch the storage.
yeah.
And for our open records request, so Emily, just say we receive a complaint and she wants to view that video, within about 2 minutes, I can go on, look at the video, approve it, I can export it to Emily, I can export it to the district attorney within seconds, and it saves, we don't have to do downloads on CDs. And it is so much better on the audit trail because it creates an audit trail. So if we get in a lawsuit and somebody said, in discovery, you didn't share all the videos with us. Well, we did right here. And if we go on a call and there's just say 3 officers that show up, they all name their video with that case number. So when we do an open record search in the video, it pulls all those related videos up and we don't get into a discovery issue.
We also talked about being a preeminent department.
Yes.
And how does this position us with other departments in Habersham, Banks County, and regionally?
So a lot of agencies are transitioning to Axon, which is great. So you was talking about preemptively. So if we back up a lot of other agencies, and just say we go on a call and a Baldwin officer tases someone in another jurisdiction, which is totally legal, but that agency has Axon cameras, it is also recorded onto their cameras as well.
So Axon is more or less like Glock. when it comes to
Yes.
this department. I mean, it's just a default.
And so the other huge thing is their customer service. It's 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
And I've been working at night, had a camera issue. You can call their customer service and you actually talk to a person.
Yeah. That's,
So.
that's kind of rare these days.
And if you have a problem with the camera, I've had some issues. The body 3s have been a lot better. I've had them back until the body 2s, and some of those had issues. I actually have an RMA return on my desktop.
Yeah.
I mean, it prints the prepaid label out. I go to FedEx, ship it, and they'll normally have you another camera within 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
So, is there any other questions on the master contract?
Good job. Are we okay bringing this to Monday night, because obviously we have a deadline?
There's a third contract.
Sorry.
Yes, and it's my fault, I was confused about our contract this afternoon. And so we got his two in there, but I left off code compliance. We will have a contract that it's a part of our program, but we're keeping it a separate contract. It's coming from the code compliance budget, but it is the same package that everyone else has.
So let me touch on that one real quick, because our code compliance, which I must say I'm very pleased with how that's taken off. Officer Thomason, he is a hard worker. He has been out, I mean, he's actually made a difference,
Yeah.
but he has to have a body camera. He has to, so I've actually been letting him use one that was the PD's.
Yeah.
But with Logan Officer coming out of the academy, I had to transition. It's more important for a police officer to have it than code enforcement.
Yeah.
So luckily, Chris has a body camera of his own, and me and Emily talked about it. So he is using that one for the time being. But there actually is a third contract, 2 for the PD, 1 for code compliance. So, but what we've done, it's all under the same hub. So it's all under the same one, but it's divided. That way, all of his video footage will be separate from the PD, because then it would cause me and Kathy like major headaches
Yeah.
trying to divide his up. And it's better for the billing. That way, his billing is separate from ours as
Right.
well.
Yeah, because I think that's the way.
Out of their budget?
Yeah, all of this is a budgeted expense.
And code compliance has a budget, and it will come out of the code compliance budget.
Awesome.
Are we okay bringing this Monday?
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it. Okay, we have come to the list of announcements. Okay. Okay, first announcement, for our early risers, join us Saturday at 8 a.m. at the Habersham County Parks and Rec Fields, it's in Clarksville, for a one-pitch softball tournament with all proceeds funding Baldwin Elementary School supplies for the 2024 school year. If your softball team is interested in participating, contact Sean Benfield at 706-531-6288 or sbenfield@cityofbaldwin.org. Calling all local farmers and foodies, join us this Saturday at Baldwin City Hall for Refresh Market. Bring your fruits, vegetables, farm, fresh eggs, and other goods to City Hall for a free place to sell your fresh staples from 11 to 3 p.m. Get in sunshine for fresh groceries and unique food truck eateries. Vendor applications can be found at www.cityofbaldwin.org or contact John at City Hall for more information. Item 3, kick off the 2024 school year with the City of Baldwin at our Back to School Bash. Join us at Life Church of Baldwin on July 20th from 4 to 8 p.m. for a party with free pizza, games, and haircuts. That was great last year.
Yeah.
We served, what, 350 last year?
We did 320 backpacks, but we served over 500 people.
Wow. That's a
Pizza
lot.
and, Kona Ice.
Yeah, go
I think it was like 568 cones
And
or
patty
something.
And patty cake, that's right. That's right.
Haircuts, holy moly, the women who did the haircuts were there all day. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
fabulous. So these kids all riled up for school.
Yeah.
All right, last announcement, join us for Movies in the Market on July 26th at 8:30. Bring your lawn chairs and blankets and join us for a free night at the Farmers Market located at 110 Airport Road. This month we'll be showing The Princess Diaries. concessions are available with all proceeds going to Shop for the Hero. Are there any announcements from staff? Any announcements from council? And do you wanna say something about the picnic?
Yes,
You
can I?
You had a blast.
Ah. I think it was the kids that had the blast. They,
That's right, you would.
actually the picnic was, my cup was overflowing with gratitude. The sense of community, you know, it's, when you look around, everybody's got their phones in their face, and kids are at home, playing their games, and not interacting with the public. But it's not just the kids that are doing it, it's the grown-ups too. So, you know, we had the water slide out there, we had the dunk tank, and the kids were out there dunking me. Well, we were heckling one another, and they just, you know, they loved it, and it,
We fed over 400 people
yeah,
that day.
yeah, nearly 500, yeah. And the watermelon, the kids, I was low-key a little worried about some of their tummies when they went home because they were really diving into it, yeah. A couple of the kids were eating watermelon, thinking that it was lucky for them to throw the ball and dunk me. But the big heroes in this are not only the businesses that donate for our events, so that this isn't coming out of taxpayers' money, but also our fire and police department and our public works department that make this happen. Our city hall staff that made this happen. They worked 12 hours, unpaid extra with no complaints in the heat to make this happen. And just so to sit back and watch the community was, I'll say selfishly, a reward for me, for the hard work that we do here as elected officials, and it really was a reward, and I'm incredibly grateful to our staff and to our sponsors, and
To
we
Scott
just.
for cooking all those
Oh,
hamburgers.
Scott, Public Works,
Public Works,
so they're
right.
in the beast.
He's a beast.
See, I had a sly little plan, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna get these kids to dunk me, and then I get to stay cool. But the water slide was a big hit, the fireworks were fantastic, the people just out there interacting with one another, playing the games and things like that was what everyone dreams of. It was Americana, 100%.
And no charge to the families.
No,
charge
nobody
because
extended
of our
down.
community sponsors.
Yeah.
Who have been absolutely magnanimous for all of our events.
Yeah.
And the thank yous that I received that night, you know, thank you for doing this, thank you for being here, thank you for feeding us. Just to have a safe place. PD was out in force. And you know, we had the streets blocked off. So the kids could run, they could play, it was safe. I mean, this was a safe, free, fun, community
Yeah.
event. It was just wonderful.
And the kids were like the Sandlot kids, like they had formed little gangs and they were just running back and forth and they're eating all their up to their eyebrows in watermelon, and they're just going around, and the parents are interacting with one another and not worried about the kids. That is what I got the goosebumps. That's what I missed from my childhood, and it felt really good to be able to bring that now, and it was
You know, this was
thank
Scott's
you.
event. Scott
Yeah.
knew about this from when he lived in Jupiter.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's do this here.
Yeah.
And how much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a really good time. And,
Yeah.
you know, I hope people continue to come out to the Baldwin events. And we're watching them grow, which is really, really nice. And so come out to the movies in the market, even if you don't like Princess Diaries. Come sit under the stars.
Right.
You know, talk to us, get
Yeah.
to meet your neighbors. Everybody says they don't know their neighbors anymore.
That's the thing, right.
Really a lot of fun.
And,
Anyway, so we went on a little longer with the picnic.
that's okay.
Any
it
other
was worth it.
comments from?
I'm just glad that we didn't end up in tears again.
Well, wait a minute.
I've already
I'm
cried
gonna-
them out.
I'm gonna take a point of privilege.
Yeah.
On the evening of July 3rd, there was a young man who went missing from Banks County. And I want to take this opportunity to brag on our PD and our fire department, not only them, but the Banks County officer who came out with his blood bloodhound, to White County, coming out with 6 people and 2 dogs. Folks, our public safety officials worked all night long, in the dark, in the woods, on trails, snaky area, mosquitoes, bugs, looking for this child as if this child were yours, mine, ours. This baby was ours. And our folks stepped up. So Chief, while you're here, thank you. Please extend the thanks of the council to your officers, and Ms. Emily, will you please do that for the fire department as well? For all the folks who came out, and Chief talked about boots on the ground. The child was found safe. It had a happy ending. It is so wonderful to know we live in this kind of community. Here are the tears.
Oh, yeah?
Right where people will come out.
Yeah. That's right. You sure will. Yeah, we're coming.
That's our baby.
We're coming for the babies.
That's
Yes.
it. We keep the baby safe.
Yeah.
And if I could just add, so nobody's left out, because if, you won't have that in the newspaper, but it was Banks County Assisted Sheriff's Office, White County Sheriff's Office, their SAR unit, Stevens County Assisted,
Wow.
Habersham County, and Alto PD.
Oh,
There was
Alto
also
PD.
other,
There's
there was other
showed
agencies
up.
that offered assistance if
Yes,
you needed it.
Demers PD offered assistance
Yeah.
as well.
Just magnanimous. So
And I've
we
got to
live in
say,
a
so,
great place.
so normally, you know, this is like a police department issue, but the fire department, every firefighter up here, they're out here.
People who were not on duty came in
So-
to help, to be boots on the ground.
So our code compliance officer, Chris, he come out with us.
Really?
Our cadet, Logan Ivester, you may
Yeah.
be a cadet at the time, but tonight
Yeah.
you're a full-time officer.
Yeah.
He came out, Daniel Spivey came out, and John Groves came out. And they did not have to do that.
That's the culture that we set out to build a few years ago. We're like, hey, we got a lot of turnover. And you're saying about rather the, no one than the wrong one. But that was the culture that we set out to build in the city, because the people, our employees are the ones that are out serving the citizens. So it's important that we have the right folks, because what use is it to have a service if you've got crappy people doing it? So they're here, they show up, and they
They're the
don't have
face,
to.
they're the face
The
of the
cavalry is
city.
coming.
And
We
the
want
code,
people to.
he's
believe
our
in the
investigator.
government again.
Everybody wants to be an investigator because it's Monday through Friday.
Right.
He's out with a bloodhound, they done 3 trials, which is really.
Hot, up and down, that is uphill both
And
ways.
snakes, snakes.
Oh,
It was a
snakes,
snaky area.
mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Good job, we're so proud. Thank you. And I'm really, really, really proud that we have, a city that employs people that believe in us and are heartfelt with that culture, because who else would we have? People who don't care.
Well, you know, we collectively have listened to our residents for what they wanted, what they didn't want. And we have tried to build it, and it, you know, watching the sausage being made is not always pretty. But, you know, this is one of those moments where we're grateful for the work we put in these past 5 years.
Yeah.
So, all right, I need a motion to adjourn. Motion from Councilman Gunter, do I have seconds? From Ms. Davis, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So the first question is,